Brie, you were just talking, I was like, how do you go out yet? We were talking about good places to go for dinner. So she is the absolute best. As you just saw, is Amy Delaney in Apples Never Fall. She is this series. I mean, she's just so darn good. So I can't wait to talk to her all about her process in this particular episode. So without further ado, please welcome the amazing, talented Allison Brie. If you guys haven't seen yet, I can't remember where the video is. You were breakdancing on the set.
This is
of
true.
Apples.
Do you know, someone just tagged me in a video and they did like a side-by-side video of me breakdancing on the set of Community 13 years ago, and then me breakdancing on the set of Apples, and it's the exact same two moves. It's like, well, the jig is up. Those are the only moves I know, and I break them out once on every show.
Oh my god, it's really good. And by the way, I love that Amy has become like a verb on this show. Like, it's
You're Amying.
Yeah, you're Amy.
Yeah.
It's so fantastic. So let's jump in first to this particular episode. And everybody,
I know I
don't know what's here. I'm like this, what you just watched. Did you approach it any differently since it was your episode, the standalone episode, versus the other episodes?
Sort of. I mean, at large, the answer is no. The character was who she was throughout all the episodes, and there was no way, you know, the way that they're going to film it and the way they're going to edit it is going to change the perspective that you're looking at, you know, each episode through. But there's another part of the answer, which is yes, in that I think reading this episode is what made me want to do the show. I mean, they sent me just 3. So I was like, they built to 3, and I was like, oh, what's going to happen to these people? What's going to happen to Joy? And wow, what interesting things to learn about this character, and what a challenge to tap into this depth of emotion and all of that. So the 3rd episode, I worked on it differently in that I worked on it so much. I read it constantly.
Okay.
We block shot the episodes, so we were shooting the first 2 episodes for 6 weeks or something. You know, we didn't even get to this, you know what I mean? It wasn't sort of like the normal, we had a good amount of time on the show, and it wasn't like an episode a week or anything like that, and I could really I would just read the 3rd episode constantly, especially these bigger Amy moments, sit with them, be listening to music, thinking about Amy's big monologue at the hospital, and even after we shot the episode, it remained my touchstone for the character throughout the rest of shooting. Our director of the episode, Dawn Shadforth, would often, when we were shooting scenes, and she directed episodes 3, 4, and 5, and anytime we were shooting scenes in that block, she would sort of come in and tap into things that I say in that monologue, and it would bring me right to where I needed to go. So in so many ways, I only worked on this episode, and then I just let that work sort of seep out into all the other episodes.
Wait, who has seen all 7 episodes? I don't want to.
4 people.
You guys.
Well, spoiler alert. Brooke slept with Savannah.
Yes, but also you guys have to watch all 7 episodes. I devoured them. Yes, it is so the payoff, everything. It is so good. Okay, so let's go back to the final scene, the final 5 minutes of this particular episode, where you and your father go into the morgue to identify a body. It's not Joy, and you come out and you just break down. I mean, it's so, the range of emotions you have to play in that scene is remarkable. So walk us through that moment in particular.
Well, I think the reason that became so important to me to hang on to for the character in general was that you sort of learn everything about Amy in that moment. You know, she is overflowing with emotions that she cannot control at any given moment. And she is unlike the other members of her family in that way. And she is an empathetic, compassionate person, and she can be extremely vulnerable. And I mean, that's the most vulnerable we see her ever, I think, in the series. And also in that moment, we kind of see this shift in her, and this decision is made to share information with her family, which starts out sort of against her will. But she takes ownership of it, and I think it was just all about truth and honesty and stripping everything away. I mean, I do think in general that Amy, while the rest of the Delaney family thinks of her as like putting on airs in terms of her spirituality and things like that, I actually think she's a really authentic person and has like spent a lifetime doing a lot of work to undo a lot of things that were ingrained in her childhood, and that it actually is extremely authentic. At the same time, I don't know, don't we all wear some sort of mask? And especially in front of our family, we have a lot of armor that we kind of have to wear sometimes to navigate those relationships. And in that moment, she's totally raw, she's totally speaking the truth, which I think can be really hard. I don't know, so much in a family is unspoken or it's already established. But how often do you just like lay your soul bare in front of your dad when you're an adult?
Yes.
You know?
Yes. No, it's so true. Amy's finally free, I think, in that moment, which is why we see her reaction as she's walking away. But how many times was this scene right after you break down, and then you and Essie, who plays Brooke, you two go at it?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, how much fun was that to do in that scene? And then, of course, you leave on this montage. And we'll never rewatch that episode thinking, she just slept with Savannah, and that's all this.
It's a mic drop moment.
Yeah, it really
sure.
is. So you go from bawling because you have just seen a dead body to then going at it with your sister on the show. So what was it like working with Essie for that scene?
I adore Essie Randles. I love them so much, and we became very close over the shooting of this. I think it was especially fun to take on a big sister role. I'm a little sister, I have an older sister, it's just the two of us. So I'm really versed in the sister relationship, but it was fun to be the older sister, and again, just to dive into the meat of how complicated that can be, how hurt you can make one another, how the expectations are somehow so much higher for that person, but you're never gonna tell them that outwardly. And I think also, just because Essie and I were so close, it was fun. It was fun knowing how much we loved each other in real life, and then could really let it rip. And you know, we're actors. You're like, in this scene, I get to scream and sob. It's like the actor's dream and nightmare, because then leading up to it, you have to talk about how my big scene is this. You know, it's my big scene Thursday. That morning, you're like, oh, big scene today. Nobody talk to me. But it was so fun and cathartic. And I think Essie reminded me that even in rehearsal, we were sort of like, didn't want to over-rehearse it, but they were like, can you give it to us one time so we kind of have a sense of where the camera should go when you guys are going full force? And we did it, and the crew was like, in shock, and then kind of laughed because they were so uncomfortable. They were like, oh my God, you guys really gonna do it like that? I was like, yeah, Steve. I'm just kidding. The crew was really supportive. But it was fun, and it was, one of the great things about working with this ensemble on a show that really is a true ensemble show. And every episode sort of spotlights a different character, but within that, there's a lot, everyone's sort of taking turns sharing the spotlight. And we were a close-knit group, and I felt like that part of it was really seamless and really fun. And when I was shooting that scene, I felt my entire cast was there for me in whatever way I needed, and when we were shooting other scenes, I got to be there for them, and that give and take was really fulfilling.
Right. Had you met any of this cast before you started on the show?
Well, Jake and I had met briefly. We are both in a film called How to Be Single.
Yes.
It's on Netflix currently.
Yes.
But we didn't have any scenes together in that, so I think we had met once in passing.
I mean, she's ready to break dance. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
We had met briefly, but you know, weren't close friends. But our director, Chris Sweeney, he directed the first two and last two, and he was really at the forefront of the development of all the characters because he directed the first two episodes. We all got out to Australia early. We shot this on the Gold Coast of Australia, and we had, I think we had 2 weeks of rehearsals together before we even started shooting, so it was a lot of time with Chris Sweeney and with Melanie Marnich, our writer, showrunner. She's incredible, and anyway, Chris Sweeney had reached out to all of us before we flew to Australia, suggesting that we get on a group text chain. So, as the eldest Delaney sibling, well, first he suggested just the siblings. So we started a siblings chain diligently. Obviously, we started making fun of Chris for making the suggestion that we had a siblings group chain where we instantly all fell in love. We're like, it's working, oh! Then he reached out and was like, wait, Annette and Sam want to be on the chain, and we were like, we'll start a new chain. You can't have your parents on the siblings chain.
Right.
Little did I know there'd be a lot more sass.
Before you were almost, okay, because you gotta tell everybody your obsession with Annette's.
I'm obsessed with Annette.
You know?
And after working with Sam, I've always been a huge fan of Sam Neill's as well.
Yeah.
And I think we all walked away with crushes on Sam after this job. But yes, I've just idolized Annette for a long time. Just admired her as an actress.
Yeah.
The American President is my favorite movie of all time, but obviously she's great in everything she does. American Beauty, so extraordinary. The Kids Were All Right. Like I could go on and on.
Any movie she stars in that starts with an A.
It has to start with an A. That's the rule.
Yes,
Definitely. Yes.
American Beauty, Apples Never Fall.
Yes, exactly.
Anything else is shit.
That's right. That's canon. So I was excited and nervous to meet Annette. Annette had just, I feel like a year prior, she had done Courting with my husband Dave Franco, and he had talked to her then about how much I love the American President. So when I met her, I was like, I think you just met my husband Dave, and she was like, yes, like maybe he told you my favorite is the American President. She was like, yes, I heard. She was so lovely. She was incredible. They say don't meet your idols. I think that is not true about Annette. She is a cool customer. She is such an extraordinary actress and person and leader on this set, and funny and joyful and assertive, and it gave me chills. There were days, this is what I'm talking about, honestly, having days where you would sit back and just be a part of the ensemble in a scene with maybe no dialogue, watching people act. There's a scene in the 5th episode that is just a big blowout fight between Stan and Troy, and Annette gets in on that action, and Essie and I were just holding each other in the corner, chills, tears in our eyes, like we're not even on camera, I'm doing some of my best work. But it was extraordinary to work with Annette, and in this episode in particular, we got to have that scene at the start of the episode in the car together, which was extremely meaningful.
Yeah, I was thinking, how did you relate to the character of Amy? Because it's so easy to blow her off from the beginning. It's like, oh, she's so new agey and stuff, but there's so much depth to her. And you really do feel sorry for what she has gone through, because she's just, I think she'll get there eventually. She is getting there in the series.
Yeah.
But, she's just a late bloomer in a way. So how did you relate to her, and what did you appreciate about her?
Well, having grown up in Los Angeles and having gone to art school, don't think that I haven't bought some crystals under the moonlight, and wrote a prayer on a piece of paper, and kept a candle burning for 7 days, hoping that my movie got into Sundance. One time it worked.
For what?
Horse Girl. It was a coordinated candle effect, but certainly when I was a teenager, I was driving to Venice Beach and like dancing in drop circles. I think that there's like part of the tie-dye loose pants wearing spiritual Amy that I have lived, but people just don't really know about that and don't really associate me with that. And then on a more serious note, I think, speaking of Force Girl, I have a familial history with mental illness, and that is a topic that's very close to my heart and important to me, and something that I have struggled with, and constantly analyzing and learning those aspects of myself. So I can certainly empathize with Amy coming from that aspect of feeling alone, feeling isolated inside those emotions, and maybe not feeling like you can express that to the people that are closest to you. I think that's a really lonely feeling. And Amy is sort of the black sheep of the family. To me, I was saying this on a panel recently with Jake, and he was like, Troy is the black sheep. I feel like any Delaney sibling, I feel like all of us are like, my character's the black sheep, you heard it here first. And that's where it ends. But I do feel that way about Amy.
Well, it's so funny too, but it's also very sweet, like the scenes that you and Annette have together. Joy, I feel like for Amy at least, Joy is her person. Joy is there for her.
Joy is her protector.
Yeah.
It's like that Beyonce song that just came out. That's what I'm talking about. That's Joy for Amy. Because the family is constantly putting Amy down. They do not take her seriously.
Right.
And in a way it's a gift, because it frees her up to just do her own thing, which is what she wants to do anyway.
Yes.
But it's a struggle for her, and Joy is the rock. I mean, you're kind of learning throughout the series that Joy is the rock for everybody in the family in a lot of ways. And when she's removed from the equation, it's like this perfect alchemy was happening when all the members of the family were involved in each other's lives.
Right.
And when she's removed, things fall apart.
Yeah. How hard was it, by the way? I was talking to Melanie, the showrunner, about this too, because in this series, you're dealing with different time frames.
Yeah.
You see this then and now, and like in this episode, I feel like I keep pointing to this thing,
Yeah.
that you started in the beginning when you just decided to drop out of college.
Yeah.
So how was it for you as an actor to go between the multiple time frames in each episode? Because I would imagine that was not easy to do.
It was interesting, yeah. It was kind of tricky, because the time difference is like 8 months.
Right.
It's not like 15 years where you're like, the start of this episode is like, I got bangs. I'm channeling it again now. But it's not like, when you're flashing back and forth, we don't have these huge signifiers of like, someone had a short bob and now their hair's long. Why is it only about hair? I in the way I approach my character. Did they go through a big life change? Curly, straight? It was tricky. We just all huddle up, especially because of the block shooting. So it was not like, we were block shooting episodes at a time. We did 1 and 2 together, then we did 3, 4, and 5 together, then we did 6 and 7. And 6 and 7 also even weirder because we broke for the strike, then we came back. It was weird. But it was like, there was something, I'm certain that early on they sent us some brief that I never looked at that was like, here's the timeline for the scene. It almost made it more confusing. It was like, scene 4 from episode 3 actually takes place in June, and then scene 5. Do you know what I mean? Like, I was like, this is overwhelming. We have to look at it. Scene, but I'm never gonna look at this again. And I just I think we all just would check in with each other whenever. I mean, it was easy if Annette was in the scene.
Right.
I knew it was the past.
Yes.
But
You
that was
guys have to watch this series. It's so damn good.
It was fun. It's fun.
Okay, so you were sent originally, going back to the start of this whole project, you were sent episode 3. How did the project
I was
come
sent
about?
1, 2, and 3.
Oh, you sent 1,
I
2,
didn't
and
just
3.
drop it in 3 like all of you
That's
guys.
what they did.
And they're like, wow her with tell her she's the star.
But I got it.
They sent me 1, 2, and 3. So I think that
You need to host a talk show. Seriously, I mean, you know how funny you are. We see you in all these roles, but
think those were the only ones that were like fully locked and finished at the time. I think that's what they sent Jake as well. And I hadn't read the book, as we'd established, but I was coming off of a press tour where I was saying Annette Benning's name 5 times a day, talking about The American President being my favorite romantic film of all time. And it's my favorite movie at all, like for all types of movies. Anyway, sorry, enough of that. And I got the phone call, and it was just like a balance of things. It was like, this show is starring Annette Bening and Sam Neill, and I was like, oh, exactly, say less. But then they said it shoots in Australia for 4 months, which turned out to be 6 months, or you know what I mean? Which felt a little scary. I'd never been to Australia. Now I want to move there. I love it so much. And since I've gone back and shot another project with my husband there, I can't stay away. And then they sent the episodes, because I hadn't read the book. I read the episodes first, and I think I also was excited about the genre. Never done mystery before. I loved Big Little Lies. I love Liane Moriarty as an author. I love her books. I've read several of them.
Yeah, she's so great. Did you want to know how the series was going to differ from the books? Because it does. There are some pretty big differences throughout.
Well, I was sort of learning that as I went, because so basically I read the first 3 episodes, and then I bought the book. And then hello. Left breast. I mean, I could stop that big of a It's not that big of a I just noticed. I know. This is great. It's live. So I read the first 3 episodes, and then I bought the book, and I started reading the book on the flight to Australia. Like, I'll just power through. And right away I started realizing that there are differences, big and small, and even it was the smaller differences that made it very confusing to read the book. Like, the brothers' age order is switched, or do you know what I mean? It's like the relationship, Brooke is queer in our show and is married to a man in the book, and that is true. And also, though, their relationship, she's not engaged, she's already married. There's a lot of just differences in terms of where people were at, and it was extremely confusing. So I sort of stopped reading the book and just was like, well, I'm making the show. You know what I mean? I'm focus on the scripts and do that, and then I circled around and finished the book later.
Also, Amy's look is different. There's blue hair in the book. I didn't really right?
Jessica, listen. Let me tell you that I have some blue in my hair on this show. It was a big debate. Look, I'm glad we finally got around to talking about my favorite subject, hair. It was a big debate, and when I read the first few episodes, it described her as having blue hair, and I started the book and she had blue hair, and I was like, oh my god, it's gonna be so exciting. It's like, Aster, blue hair, no one's ever seen you with blue hair before. And then I got there, but I was like, I don't want to wear a wig, because wigs often look quite wiggy, although then I learned we had the most insane, most incredible hair department. They worked on Elvis and all these incredible movies, so some people are wearing some hair, and you might not even know. And that's for me to know. But it was a big debate. We did all these meetings about dip dyeing my hair so that the bottom half we were going to bleach and then dye it blue. That was going to pose a real challenge continuity-wise. They were just like, this is going to be a big pain in the butt. You have to come in twice a week so that we're making sure that the blue is consistent, and we're jumping around timelines, and are we trying to do lighter here and darker here, and it sounds too confusing. So they just made some pieces that they clipped in my hair, and then they lit the show very dark, and no one can see the pieces. But I want you to know. I diligently went to the hair and makeup truck every morning, got those pieces clipped in, and we said, wow, so much blue. I can't even believe it's 3 strands.
Oh my God. And also talk about working with costume designer Allison Brie.
Yes.
And what she did. I mean, this look of Amy's, especially in the Hope Circle, it's iconic.
Allison Brie is incredible. I think she came in and was able to really distinguish between each of the siblings and do this amazing weave of who they are now, who they were then. of the show, and the kids sort of like sleep at the house. I'm not spoiling anything. And they like wake up in the house, and some of us are wearing old Delaney Tennis Academy stuff, and like I think she was just so smart about the way I think that she made each character. There's such archetypes, but she made them feel like very real people. And Amy's wardrobe in particular, it was vintage pieces, and it was newer pieces, and it was like you could go really obviously boho in certain ways with it, but I think she was really good at also mixing in a vintage t-shirt and like old stuff like that more felt easy, that Amy's going for ease, but she also has a little bit of flair. I mean, that outfit that I wear for the Hope Circle, Allison Brie went to Boulder, Colorado in the middle of the shoot for her daughter's graduation.
Okay.
But it's like she's on this crazy 48-hour trip for her daughter's graduation, and when she got back, she was like, "You gotta see what I got for Amy." There was just this, Boulder, Colorado, I've been. When I was in college, on a road trip, stopped in Boulder, and that's the kind of stuff. I think I bought like one of those sound bowls.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You do.
I can host a sound bath.
You really do. Did you take tennis lessons for this? Because the first episode, you really like.
I played one time.
Yeah, you played one time, but it's good and it's convincing. I mean, I was
Thank
like,
you.
Yes.
I took tennis lessons. We all took tennis lessons. I've spoken publicly about not being great at tennis. And I want to amend that a little bit because I think, it's just that I had never played tennis ever before in my life, but I'm actually much more athletic now than I was as a teenager.
Okay.
Like basically anything post Glow, which was a show I worked on about so physical on that show, and anything I've done since, I think I just have more confidence too,
Right.
being like, there's a possibility I may be able to learn how to do this, which is most my mindset about tennis. But 4 weeks is not enough. It was a short timeline up to shooting that. So I was actually getting better at it slowly but surely. But we're supposed to look like pro level, just below, these people who've been playing tennis since they were small children. It was easier to learn choreography at the end of the day for my one tennis scene. And we shot it with no ball. But look, it's movie magic. It's streaming magic.
I love you so much. We got to get not just an Emmy nomination, but an Emmy win. Because we've been out of time for a while, but I don't care.
The clock is just saying, kill yourself. Sorry. I went blue.
What if Meryl Streep was out there waiting for her next panel?
She's not.
Sorry, we're not done yet. Finally, tell me, what do you hope the message is of this series? Because I do think there's something to really take away from it, because we were talking about the mental health aspect, which is so crucial to really understanding. But what do you hope people, when they're done watching, they take away and understand?
Well, we've all been saying that the moral of the show really is call your mom. And I think that in a slightly more global sense, it really is about appreciating the people in your life when they're in your life right now. There's no better moment than now to tell those people what they mean to you, because anything can happen.
Yeah. Well, I love you.
I love
You're and we love all of you too. Like,